very good evening to our viewers. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Evening Review. My name is Steven Jabela, your host. Tonight we are joined on the platform by Wet Siluka. He is the Corporate Communications Manager at the Electoral Commission of Namibia, ECN. And today, as we all know, the national voters registration process has started ahead of the 29th of the November election. We saw President Nangola Mbumba, for example, leading by example by being one of the first people to register today as voters. And David is here to just walk us through that process. Thank you very much, my brother, for making time. First question, really just
Yes.
For the first time in a long time, everybody is required to register. In the past, it's only those that were not registered or having voters cards that needed to register. But this time around, everybody must register. What transpired there?
Well, thank you. Let me just start by briefing the nation that in Namibia, the Electoral Act provides for 3 types of registration.
Yeah.
We have the general registration of voters, which is conducted after 10 years.
Yeah.
Then we have the supplementary registration of voters, which is conducted when there are elections or by-elections in between after the general registration of voters have been conducted.
Yeah.
And then the Act also provides for the continuous registration of voters, whereby the Commission is required to register electorates on a regular basis. However, that was not being conducted due to some other issues that the Commission had to first meet, such as the employment of permanent regional electoral officers in the regions to facilitate that process. Now, coming back to the question, the general registration of voter, as I've clearly stated, it is provided for in the Electoral Act number 5 of 2014 that the Commission is required to come up or to produce a new voters roll, which is a voters register, after 10 years.
Yeah.
That process requires all eligible Namibians to re-register afresh in order for them to appear in the voters register. So that is the exercise that we are now have commenced with.
Yeah. Wonderful. What is the feedback that you've been getting from across the country today?
Well, we have seen a promising turnout, if I may say so, both at all levels of society. We have witnessed the head of state and the first lady registering today at Windhoek, at MTC Olympia head office. We have also witnessed our own chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Elsie Nikemba, registering as a voter. We have also seen our commissioners, Commissioner Heson Sindano, registering in Kavango, in Rundu. Commissioner Heson Waripi Shenuna also registering here in Windhoek. And we've also seen our own CEO, Tateshama, also registering as a voter. And we have seen quite a number of young people in the queues queuing up to register. So we really see that it's promising that the public out there will come in numbers to register.
Yeah, wonderful. The one thing that concerns me personally is that registration started today. It will go on for the whole of June and for the whole of July.
Yes.
And by the 1st of August, that will be the last day for registration.
That's correct.
Yeah. So isn't that isn't it a short period, given that every eligible Namibian must register within that period? I'm asking this because I just think that the general attitude of Namibians must be accommodated, because we saw with the SIM card registration, which might be even more important to some people personally, that it took a long time for people to eventually go and register. And some of them, even after postponements, they still had their cards cut off. So that attitude scares me a lot in the context of this election registration.
Yes, and I think that is what we have to emphasize on, and also encourage the public to really take this period of registration to register, because there will be no extension. You see, us as the ECN, we operate within the parameters of the law.
Yeah.
Statutory dates are set in consultation with key stakeholders. So in the Act, the Electoral Act number 5 of 2014 is amended, provides that the general registration of voters must be conducted within the 52 days, which starts today and end on the 1st of August.
Okay.
So that
So
cannot be extended.
So it's cast in a
Yes,
in a law.
in a
isn't it?
law.
Okay.
Yes, it's not dates that we just prescribe ourselves, but it's cast in the law.
Yeah, yeah.
So we need to operate within those statutory dates as per the law.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So what will ECN be doing during that period to just sort of create appetite within the electorate to continue? Because it's a very, very important exercise.
Yes, of course. As ECN, we have also launched a voter and civic education campaign, and the campaign is being executed through various channels. We have our ground force, which is our voter education officers who are on the ground in all the 14 regions, 121 constituencies, going out from villages to villages, communities to communities, to really entice the public on the importance of them registering. Because remember, in Namibia, you can only vote if you are a registered voter whose name appears in the voters register. So that is one important thing that we are really carrying out to the public, and also enticing them on the requirements of what they need to register and where they have to register. We have identified about 4,297 registration points across the country. That information is also available on our website and our social media, and we are trying in as much as we can to share this information with all stakeholders so that they have access to it, and they have the know-how of what they are required in order for them to go and register as voter. Apart from the face-to-face engagement with the public to entice them on the importance of registration, we have also employed youth ambassadors. You have seen during the launch of the electoral calendar on the 7th of March, we also unveiled the Miss Teen Namibia. Oriana Ribeiro as the lead youth ambassador to really carry out the message and push for the youth to register. We have also now put on board youth ambassadors in all the 14 regions to ensure that they go out into the constituencies and entice their fellow youth to get involved and register to vote. In addition to that, we also have our electronic and static billboards across the country, just to also share information on the dates for the general registration of voters. Yes.
And when you spoke about those more than 4,000 registration points, does that include, if I'm abroad, how do I do it? I'm trying to see also whether there are any new technology methods that you have deployed as a commission just to make life easy for registration.
Well, thank you. The Act also provides for registration of Namibian living abroad. So what we did is that through the Ministry of International Relations, they assisted us with their staff that are deployed at the Namibian foreign embassies to assist with the registration process. So the Commission has identified 35 registration points for people living abroad in order for them to register. However, the law only provides that registration registration can take place at the foreign missions, which is the embassy. So what we have done is that we have deployed equipment and materials to these foreign embassies, 35 foreign embassies. That information is also available on our website to direct our people or guide our people living abroad on where they have to register. Yes.
So on technology, is there anything?
Technology-wise, the Electoral Commission of Namibia, if you have been following, we have we are using what we call integrated mobile voter registration system to register the voters. This is a customized registration system that was made for ECN. It is a combination or integrated of the current biometrics, the VVDs that we were using previously, just put them together in order to have the one module running for registration. And also, we just want to emphasize that, when we speak about technology in terms of registration, we are not referring to EVMs. No, we are only referring to the registration kits which is meant for the purpose of the registration of voters.
So it's confirmed again that this time around EVMs, because I know that of course we haven't used them in a long time.
Yes.
But it means that status quo will continue.
It still prevails. We are complying with the requirements of the Supreme Court judgment. Yes.
Absolutely. How are you going to deal with these far corners of the country? I know, for example, that in areas like Kunene, you have communities living in mountainous terrains who, of course, would want also to exercise their democratic right to vote. How are you handling those situations?
Well, thank you. When we are planning our logistical arrangements in accordance with our electoral policy, we take into consideration factors such as as you have mentioned, the far to reach remote areas. So we have collaborations where we bring on board the assistance of the Namibian Defence Force through their aviation to assist us with helicopters in order to be able to reach those far remote areas, and that have been done. We have secured helicopters from the Namibian Defence Force to assist us to reach those areas, particularly in Kunene, and also in the flood-prone areas where we couldn't reach in case we can't reach, so that we can be able to reach those areas by flying. So those are some of the initiatives and logistical arrangements that are in place now to ensure that we really register all eligible Namibian citizens.
The Namibia Statistics Agency in March announced the population census, the outcome of the population census, telling us that we are just slightly above 3 million people now in the country. Has ECN looked at some of these figures and determined, for example, how many of those will be eligible for voting? I know that I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm just wondering if you've done that.
Yes, okay. We also have a standing agreement with the Namibia Statistics Agency, and one of the requirements or what is stipulated in that agreement is to share data on the national statistics. So what happened is that when they released the results, they also released the total number of eligible voters within the 3-point-something million of the population. Now, according to the data that was released, over 1.7 million are eligible voters or are eligible to register and vote. So as ECN, we are targeting to register at least 1.5 million out of that total amount. Yes.
Okay.
And this is based on really on the previous data that we have from the previous general registration of voters, which was conducted in 2014. I must also emphasize that in 2014, the general registration of voters was conducted within 42 days. So based on that, we also have to build up and say, okay, the population has increased to this amount. So what are the requirements? What do we need to put? What efforts do we need to put forth in order to ensure that we register? So we are using the previous data to inform our planning for our current planning. Yes.
So if I go to a registration point and I do what is necessary to be done there, and I get issued with a card in that moment, that is confirmation that I've been confirmed as a voter? Or would there be another process where I need to now check if my name is appearing on databases and stuff like that?
Yes. What happens is that after we have compiled or after we have captured your data This is something that we also want to advise the public out there, or eligible voters out there, that before your card is printed out, just confirm that your details, your name and your ID number are correctly captured, to avoid the issuance of duplicates and going back for corrections. So what will happen is that after we have compiled the whole registration, then the ECN will provide or will compile what we call the provisional voters roll, which is a voters register, and then it will be available for the public for objection. You can go and look at your name, whether it appears on the register, and also you can launch your objections if you saw somebody on the voters register whom you believe that he's not a Namibian citizen. So there will be that period provided to the public for them to view before the final register is produced.
So what can one do? So you view that list, and then you could find maybe an anomaly, so there'll be a period for ECN also to correct, to verify, to rectify. Yeah.
If there are any such, and then any such objections, then it also gives ECN the period to rectify.
So we go for a quick break and then return for the last segment of the interview with Wet Siluka.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
The evening review continues with Wet Siluka. Now, what are the requirements? What must one bring along to the registration point?
Well, one most important requirement is that you must be a Namibian citizen. And then secondly, you must be 18 years and above. And the third requirement is you must be able to identify yourself by providing your proof of citizenship. And then if you are registering for regional and local authority, then you have to provide your municipal bill, your telephone bill, your rental agreement, or an affidavit to state that indeed you reside within that constituency or locality, especially for local authority council. That is where we require you to submit your these requirements.
Okay.
Yes.
So this registration is for both this election and the next
and
year
the
one.
Next elections, yes.
Okay.
That's why we're encouraging the public to register in the constituencies in which they live.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very, very important piece of information. I think that is clear. So, and the registration points are open at which hours?
Our registration points will be open Monday to Saturday from 8 o'clock to 1900 hours.
Okay.
Yes, for the entire 52 days.
Absolutely.
And I must also emphasize that some registration points will operate for the entire 52 days, whereas some will operate but depending on the population density, because they will be moving from one place to the other. But then we encourage the public to register within their constituency by also ensuring that they just look at the nearest registration point in their constituency. Let's say, for example, for argument's sake, in Vinduku East constituency, if we move from MTC today, you can still get us at NIPAM. So you can also just move to NIPAM and register. So what we are urging the public is that if the registration point has moved from where it was, which is your area, and it has moved to another area within your constituency, you can still go there and register.
Yes. Did the ECN have to employ a lot of people for this exercise, or is it your staff that are
Yes,
doing it?
usually during this pickup period, we employ temporary staff in order to supplement our current staff in terms of executing this civic duty. So what we have done is that we have employed over 3,000 registration officers or registration officials, which includes the IT technicians, regional IT officers, and then we have the registration officers, we have the cleaners, we have logistical teams, just to ensure that this process is executed in according to plan. Yes, so these staff have undergone training. We have trained the supervisors of registration. After supervisors of registration, then we brought in the registration officials who also went under the same training in order to be assessed before their actual employment, which is now. So that training was conducted and completed last week, and then we assessed them to ensure that they are able to carry out the exercise as per the ECN's mandate. In addition to that, we did not only train our local staff, temporal staff, but we also brought the international staff, the registration officers who were seconded by the Ministry of International Relations. We brought them back in the country just for training, so that they also understand the training process or registration process.
That's a huge exercise.
Yes.
And speaking of huge exercises, David, it means that after this, even after August 1, there's so many other subsequent processes that ECN must embark upon ahead of November.
Yes.
Can you clarify for us, there's this situation around candidates, presidential candidates in particular, because you hear people saying they are presidential candidates of their political parties, but then you hear others saying no, but no one has been endorsed, has been registered as such by ECN yet. So will that process, is that process still ahead?
Yes, you see, Toivo, the Electoral Commission of Namibia, just like any other EMB, have adopted what we call the electoral calendar. The electoral calendar is a framework that guides the EMB on the processes to be undertaken. And it has 3 electoral cycles. We have what we call the pre-election cycle, which we are currently in. Then we have the election cycle, and then we have the post-election cycle. Within the pre-election cycle, I think there are 7, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just quickly verify. Yeah, there are 7 key phases or key electoral projects that us as a commission are conducting. And one of such is the legal framework and reform and compliance. That's what we do in there. And then we have the stakeholder engagement. We have enhancement of the elections management system and modules, which is what we were just speaking about, the integrated mobile voters registration, which we are currently using. And then we have recruitment and training, which I just touched on now, whereby we employ or recruit temporary staff members to assist us to carry out the exercise and also train them to ensure that they are able to carry out the exercise by understanding the processes and systems that we employ in order to execute this exercise. And then we have the election result management, political party and nomination of candidates software interfacing. That is not the nomination itself, but it's the software which we still have to develop. And then we still have to go back to the political party liaison committee, because when we are doing this, we consult political parties through their authorized representative at what we have we refer to as a political party liaison committee. Yes, where all registered political parties and organizations are represented so that their voices are heard. Yes. And then after that, we have what we call voter and civic education, which I also alluded to, that it's a process that is ongoing to the build up until election. And then last but not least is the registration of voters, which have started today. Yes, that is what we have within the pre-election phase. Now, after the pre-election phase, after all this has been done, the voters register has now been compiled and it has been availed. Then we go to what we call the election phase. In the election phase, this is where now we deal with the accreditation of local and international observers. This is where we deal with the nomination of candidates. So candidates can only be then nominated in the election phase. So at this point around, there's no nomination of candidates. And then after that, we have now the polling, which is actual election. So those are still to come in our electoral calendar.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the last part is
please.
the electoral phase, post-election phase. And this is where you just do the electoral assessment to see what worked and what didn't work. Yes.
Wonderful. The last question to you, perhaps, David, is about the how is, and sorry if I'm putting you on the spot, because some questions might be above your pay grade, but you've shown that you are capable and you understand the processes very well. One of the contentious issues around this time is always around ballot papers.
Yes.
I've written as a reporter those years countless stories about the back and forth arguments between political parties saying, the printing has to be credible, it has to be unbiased. There was a time when this tender was once awarded to a local company, and then they said the company is affiliated to one of the parties here and it cannot happen. So for the last time I remember we were printing in South Africa. I'm wondering if ECN is already having a clear idea on how to handle this process for this election.
Yeah, like you've clearly mentioned, this is a policy issue, and but however, I can emphasize that the Electoral Commission follows the Public Procurement Act in terms of procuring its services and products. And that same process will apply for the acquisition of the printing of ballot papers. But what we need to encourage or emphasize on is that the printing of ballot papers have never been done in isolation. It is a process where we involve all the key stakeholders who are affected to ensure that it is transparent, it is credible, and it is in the public view of everyone to ensure that the process is quite transparent and open. Yes.
Absolutely. David, thank you for coming through.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's David Siluka. He is the Corporate Communications Manager of the Electoral Commission of Namibia, filling us in on how the day has emerged as Namibians start to register for or ahead of the November general election, and of course, again, for elections, the regional and local authority elections that are to be held in 2025. He'll be coming here a lot if he agrees to come. But,
of course, he'll be coming.
So we'll
be coming to update
we'll
the
be
nation.
engaging Mr. Siluka frequently from now on until the elections. But thank you for watching.